Welcome back. Well, today, as I mentioned, we have the My Cone half hour. We've got Pat and Robert here on behalf of the Republican Club. Well, welcome both of you. It's nice to see you. I haven't seen you in a while.
I know, before Christmas.
And you, I've seen you a little too much lately, actually,
yes,
Robert. I think you're really exhausting your TV time.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, thank you so much for coming in. Now, of course, I know we have something on that we're trying to get on the ballot for November, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But would you do me a favor and just give me sort of an overview of the Republican Club?
Yes, the Republican Club has been around for about 40, 50 years. We are a club that wants to support freedom, low taxes, small government, freedom of individuals versus, the government. And we want to reach out and, have as many people vote Republican as possible, so we can have the policies in place that will help support prosperity, freedom and prosperity.
Okay, well, excellent. Thank you for that information. Now, speaking of, freedom and choice and things like that, you've got something that you want to get on the ballot, but it doesn't necessarily matter whether you are Republican, Democrat, or Independent. It's something that really will apply to all children. Can you give me sort of an overview of it?
Yes, Lisa. Well, I've asked my husband, Robert Cone, to come and talk about this issue. He has been one of the founders of the California Public Policy Center.
Okay.
And they are a nonpartisan think tank. And over the last 15 years, their signature issue has been school choice.
Okay.
So I'd like to have Robert speak to that.
That sounds good. Now, Robert, first of all, how come you were involved in this way back when?
Well, when we founded the California Policy Center, the idea was to put together a nonpartisan think tank that would be equally accessible or interesting to Republicans, Democrats, and Independents.
Okay.
And in fact, it has worked out that way because better education for children is a nonpartisan issue. For some reason, California has always been, in the last 20 years anyways, been in the bottom 10% of effectiveness, of educational effectiveness for students. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons for that. It's a big, diverse state. There's a lot of poor areas, a lot of wealthy areas, private schools. It's got the whole gamut. But on balance, it's really surprising, considering the amount of resources that go into the public school system, that the educational output or the achievement of the students would be so low. So we organized it was about 2010, we organized the California Policy Center, and the first signature issue we took on was independent school choice. It wasn't called school choice at that time. It actually, the vehicle that allowed us to formulate the center and become a 501c3 and solicit donations and to begin to move and write policy statements and do interviews just like this, was the charter school movement.
Yeah.
In Los Angeles County back in the 90s, parents got fed up that the schools were lousy. I think they're still lousy today in LA. But LA in 2010 had about 50 charter schools. Orange County had 3 or 4. Well, we took the charter school movement, and actually in 2010 to when COVID hit in 2020, that number of 3 or 4 went to 36 charter schools, either operating or active or promote or ready to go.
Okay.
So what's a charter school? The first thing to recognize is a charter school is a public school. It's a public school. It's paid for with public funds. So if you and I decided to make a school where we'd focus for K through 12 on American history, we could promote that as a charter, and the American History School, we could call it. We could call it the Orange County version of the American History School. And if that was approved by the Board of Supervisors, then we would have our own school. We hire our own teachers, and we'd be given money by the state to do that.
Right.
What's the catch? We'd have to, we have a limited amount of money from the state, and we have to obey our charter. We can't change our charter without an act of Congress, so to speak.
Gotcha.
Well, the charter school movement was very popular, but the charter school didn't really change things very much, because if you had, 3,000 schools in California, the 150 of them became charter schools. The curricula was a little different in the schools, but in fact, the problem was the same. The charter schools did better on their chosen subjects, but across the board, when you measured across the board, it was minimal impact.
Right. Okay.
So that's where that's the history, the gestation of the school choice movement now.
So if you look at today, what are we dealing with in terms of choice, or there's boundaries? I know there's a lot of things that go into play as to where your children go to school.
Yeah, the rules of the state-controlled system, the Department of Education, are that if you live in a particular geographic area, you have to go to a particular school. this can be a problem for parents. For example, in 1988, we moved to Costa de Casas so we could join the golf club and help my son, who was a double state golf champ, advance his golf career. But my daughter, who was a couple years older, didn't want to leave El Toro High School. So we had to get an act of Congress. We had to fill out forms in triplicate, wait 3 months, beg and plead at school board meetings. Well, in the charter school or a school choice movement, all we had to do is said, I choose this school. So that was quite a damaging experience. In fact, the only reason our daughter was able to stay at El Toro High School was that the principal called up the Board of Education and said, this kid is too valuable to me. She's the editor of the school newspaper, and what was she? She was on the tennis team. She was MVP of their tennis, things like that.
Okay.
So the complication is that, I'll get to school choice in a minute and the geographical component of it. But let's look at what the school system is now. The school system is composed of teachers and students, and it's composed of the teachers' unions and the administrators. And all four of those groups have divergent viewpoints. Teachers want to teach the students, and the students want to learn and have a little fun, maybe too much fun. But the teachers' unions are not there for the students, they're there for the teachers. Now, while that sounds good on the surface, that's a split loyalty, because now the teacher doesn't know whether to obey the union rules or whether they're supposed to teach the student according to the right amount of the right amount of discipline and the right curriculum content. The administrators have actually been hired to make sure that all this stuff plays together and follows the government. They're almost like a compliance department for the federal government on what was supposed to be a local issue, which is how to run a school.
Right.
So why are local issues important? Schools are organized in this country by local people. It's no longer the case. The policies and procedures come from the federal government, the money comes from the state government, and the amount of wiggle room they have in the curriculum is very small. So this is where the school choice comes in.
Right.
There was a major election in Virginia where the ex-governor of Virginia said that the parents had no right to teach their students. Parents had no rights in the teaching of their students. Well, he got thrown out of office and a new guy came in.
Right.
It's a serious issue. In fact, we're hoping to drive that home in California too.
Exactly, and I know that you wanted to tell us a little bit more about that. However, we're going to run out of time.
Okay.
So what I really would like to do is focus on what you're doing and where people can go to sign a petition to get this on the ballot.
Yes.
So Pat, would you
Thank
go
you,
over
Lisa.
that?
Lisa, we had a general meeting last Friday and we had over 135 people there, and we asked the volunteers in the local area to come and help us sign petitions. We did. We signed over 100 petitions.
Okay.
To help support that issue and continue supporting it. We will be doing it until April to get it on the ballot, but the next 2 weekends, this coming Saturday, February 12th, we're going to be having a drive-up petition drive from 11 to 2 to make it easy for our village, our members and our village residents to come and sign it. We're also going to have it next weekend on Saturday, the 19th at Clubhouse 3. So 2 different locations.
Okay, now if they have any questions, they can contact you, Pat.
Yes, my name, yep.
714-697-0014.
Yes.
Now, that's this weekend and next weekend.
Yes.
I love it. Drive up, sign your name.
Yep.
What's this real quick?
This, years ago when Robert and I were working with the school choice, this is a scarf we wore. And when we walked precincts and walked around trying to get support, we have
See, I think she should couple that with some blue, and now we've got Rams.
Right,
Go Rams.
all right, good.
When we did the charter school conversion in Anaheim, the teachers union actually shut down the charter school conversion of the worst school in Anaheim, worst school in California, they think. So the parents created a parent union.
Yes.
And the lady behind it came up with these scarves. So the parent union debated the teachers union. It was a fascinating spectacle. The charter school conversion actually worked quite well.
Well, great. Well, congratulations on getting this going. I appreciate it. And I'm sure everyone here who have grandchildren who would like to have the choice. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Lisa.
And remember, if you want more information, you can always contact Pat Mycone at 714-697-0014 and make your voice heard. We'll be right back.